Welcome to All Things Considered CX, the podcast where we challenge the status quo of customer experience. Hosted by Bob Azman, this show is all about disrupting practices and redefining what it means to truly connect with customers. In this unhinged approach to CX, we're focused on building better experiences from the ground up. Each episode, Bob dives into the bold ideas, unconventional strategies, and fresh perspectives that are shaking up the world of CX. We're bringing you the voices that are pushing boundaries and changing the game. If you're ready to rethink how customer experience is done and drive real transformation, you're in the right place. Let's get into today's episode of All Things Considered CX.
Hello and welcome back. Glad to have you listening to another one of our podcasts, the All Things Considered CX podcast, Unhinged. We've got a great guest today with a unique perspective around CX. We're really excited to have Simon Robinson, CEO of Holonomics, with us today. Simon, welcome to the podcast. And if you would, introduce yourself and give us a little bit of your background to our listeners.
Thank you very much, Bob, for the invitation to join you today. It's always fantastic to converse and discuss CX. In terms of who I am, and my background, I'm the CEO of Holonomics, a business consultancy. So we specialize both in business strategy and customer experience. But I feel in terms of customer experience, I've had what I consider to be a unique career path in customer experience. And that I actually started my career at British Telecom in the UK, at British Telecom Laboratories, in their human factors department. And in the early 90s, there were only two commercial human factors departments in the world, one at Xerox PARC in the US and the other at British Telecom. And that gave me an incredible start to my career in customer experience. And then following that, because of this focus on CX inside of BT, I was invited to become the business development manager for smartphones in the mid-90s within BT. Now, this is a really interesting career move because I was invited into that role, a strategic business commercial role, because of my background in CX, in user-centered design. So from quite an early age, I had quite a lot of strategic responsibility for customer experience design. And then again, following that, I moved from a focus on hardware to content. At BT, I was the co-founder of one of the world's first startups, Genie Internet. It was the world's first mobile internet portal. And that again was an incredible experience to be a part of startups with this focus on experience first design, as I call it, in the 90s. And then from then, because of this strategic approach, I've moved into consultancy, and I'm very much helping businesses today overcome some of the challenges of CX that we had already solved at BT in the 90s. It's really interesting to see how things have moved on with this new wave of the internet and AI right now, because some of the problems and challenges are the same, even though the technology is different. So that's that, and I'm the co-author of a number of books, including our latest, Designing Customer Experiences with Soul. So this word soul, it's a very key word in terms of how we're really using customer experience to transform whole organizations through soul and this more human approach to business when everything else seems to be dominated by technology.
And Simon, that was pretty, I would characterize it as bleeding edge with BT in the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, experience design just wasn't talked about or practiced for that matter in the 90s. It was all around the product, right? We design the product, we engineer the product. The customer must have to like it because that's the way we designed it. So that's pretty awesome to be involved in that early in the history of CX.
Yeah, I mean, it was, as I said, I had a fantastic group of colleagues as well. And you're absolutely right. If we think of, say, Apple in the 80s, the key word is usability and user interaction design. If you look at the advertising of Apple, it's all based around one person interacting with product, as you say. And that was fantastic. Apple have achieved a huge amount in terms of usability, but no one talked about customer experience. And as you said, BT had this product focus. So what was happening? our marketing colleagues were launching products and services and then coming to us and saying, you know what, is this product easy to use? How are people using it? And of course, the costs of correcting problems after launch are infinitely higher compared to solving them at the beginning. So what happened? In the early 90s, human factors, some of my colleagues and myself in human factors joined with our colleagues in marketing to create the first strategic customer experience process we called designing the customer experience. And colleague Mike Attio and I, we published the first article in 1995 in the proceedings of Interact 95. So I believe I'm one of the pioneers of what is called modern customer experience. And this really started around 94 and 95, both in the US and with what we were doing in British Telecom with our strategic process, designing the customer experience. And that's all about focusing customer experience, not in marketing, but in the core and heart of the organization. So you can have that strategic influence and strategic impact. Without that influence, you're never going to have the impact that you can truly gain from customer experience practices and methodologies.
If I wear multiple hats at a time, and if I put my supply chain hat on instead of my CX hat on, I'm cheering inside, because in supply chain, especially from an operations perspective, we're always begging engineering and
Yeah,
product design to bring us in early. Don't hand us
yeah,
the
yeah,
the item and say, "Can you find these raw materials? Can you find these component parts?" And like you said, we come back and say, they're only available in one place in the world, and by the way, that's a political nightmare or whatever it is.
yeah,
That bringing this all together and doing it in collaboration and upfront, I think is really key. And so that kind of leads, you wrote a case study with BT, but that kind of leads
yeah,
me into the whole idea of the customer life cycle and why
yeah.
companies have to strategically understand that. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, a lot of my experience, why did we have so much success with our experience first strategy? It was because we were using the customer life cycle as a sense-making framework to help everyone across BT. And BT's big, and not only BT. If you look at the innovations in mobile internet phones, these were only possible through innovation ecosystems. So yeah, we had the supply chain and we had the partners developing the technologies. And people nowadays, I think they still think of the customer lifecycle as a way to manage your marketing communications with customers. That's correct.
Mm.
But the problem is when you don't include every part of the operation, operations, technology, marketing, HR, finance, when you don't include all these different people, customer experience becomes, say, a mapping exercise, which is done in a silo, and then you really struggle to demonstrate the value of what you're doing. And also, you get some battles, say, with your marketing colleagues, because then people think, oh, well, I own the customer experience. No, it's me. When you use the customer life cycle strategically, what are you actually doing? You're facilitating dialogue around the customer life cycle, and you're looking at each person and each team's strategic responsibilities for that part of the life cycle. And you're helping people make sense of customer experience. It's not just, oh, we're creating like a luxury experience or some marketing add-on to give to customers in addition to the product and service. It transforms the way people understand what you're doing with customer experience. It helps people understand that everyone has responsibility for the customer experience. And obviously, when you go below one level, it's a way of really aligning people through processes and strategic initiatives. That element never really was fully understood. So customer experience kind of got focused on digital communication management, digital ways of mapping the journey. But all these extra bits, that allow you to embed customer experience in the organization got lost. So this is why, I've done a lot of writing and we've developed the tools and frameworks that we've done. It's all around helping people understand the sense-making aspect of customer experience so that they can have more impact with it, no matter what their role is with customer experience and every part of the life cycle. Because what really matters, Net Promoter Score is interesting, but it's just an indicator. What you really want is financial impact, such as lifetime value of each customer. That's the important thing that really makes the rest of the business take notice.
It does, and it's nice to see lifetime value making a comeback.
Yeah.
I've been preaching about this for a couple of years now that we lost sight of lifetime value, and it's coming back in a big way, which is great. So, listeners, by the way, Simon has an outstanding infographic on the customer lifecycle that really, I think sometimes CX professionals get too caught up in journey mapping, and
Yeah.
yours takes it to a new level.
Yeah.
And so my question to you, Simon, is it makes total sense, especially when listening to and then looking at this infographic, which I did to prepare for our discussion. Why are companies and organizations so challenged to understand that aspect, that it all has to be in a life cycle, in an ecosystem? What are you finding when you talk to clients?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we do, we obviously help. We've worked with some of the world's largest brands, some of the world's largest conglomerates with their customer experience, not just with consumer brands, but also with B2B in major industries. And especially in these large organizations, the strategy team and the strategic planning teams, they have zero dialogue and zero contact with those people responsible for customer experience. And I don't want to be too extreme or rude, but it doesn't make sense when the relationship with your customers has such a major impact on financial results. It doesn't make sense to separate strategy from customer experience. So what we've done is we've done something highly visual as well. We've actually put the customer life cycle into the strategic planning process. So our customer centricity strategy framework, it's used to create this dialogue between strategy teams who are responsible for strategic planning. They're responsible for the translation of strategy into objectives and projects and indicators. And they're also responsible for the execution of the strategy, which is downstreaming and making sure people understand what the strategy is so they know what they need to be doing. And we've had so much success because C-suite, executives, they look at it and they think, wow, I'd never really understood the customer life cycle as a strategic framework. It was always something that someone did in marketing. So what we do, we spend a lot of time before we really start a major initiative. We spend a lot of time really qualifying terms. And also the other thing that's been really successful is talk about the history of customer experience. Because people don't really know it. In the rest of the business, sometimes we make assumptions that people know what CX is. They don't. So we really have to say, look, it started in human factors, it moved into human-computer interaction, then the focus was on usability, and now you have to think about every single experience a customer has. When you do that, when you locate the customer lifecycle within the strategic planning process, everything changes and people really understand what it is that we're talking about. And I think that's something new that no one's ever done before. And of course, with us coming from a customer experience background, we actually made the customer centricity strategy framework as a visual experience. It's highly visual, it's graphical, and it really connects emotionally, as well as explaining, the actual nuts and bolts of the strategic customer experience process.
Well, and it's easy to understand, and I don't mean
Yeah.
to suggest it's simplistic or it's not
Yeah.
complex. It's quite the opposite. There's a tremendous number of components, but I can see presenting that to an executive team and having a lot of those members understand it. And again, I'm not being critical of executive teams, but they have a
Oh,
lot of
no,
things
yeah,
going on, right? And
absolutely.
so that's one of the things we talk a lot about is what are the language you're speaking to your executive team so that they
Yeah, yeah.
understand as you got a half an hour and the next person is in there asking for something else. So I think this approach is really intriguing. Listeners, we're talking to Simon Robinson, CEO of Holonomics and author of the book Designing Customer Experiences with Soul. So let's get into the book, Simon.
Mm,
What prompted you to write it? The first thing, by the way, the first thing that's not only the soul part, but
yeah,
when you said people, processes, and purpose,
yeah,
that the typical statement is people, processes, and tools or technology. And so
yeah.
when the three P's, you really did a spin on that one, and I loved it. So I'd love to hear about the background on why you wrote the book, and then we can get into some of the details around the book too.
Yeah, I mean it's really interesting because in 2014, my wife Maria Morais Robinson and I we published our first book, Holonomics. And in Holonomics, we're really trying to help leadership teams understand what the reasons behind the problems that they have in their organizations. And it helps leaders understand their organizations systemically as living systems. And what does this really mean? Not only does it mean they have to think about processes and operations, but we're trying to transform the way leaders think and understand about the people dimension. And so in Holonomics, we really talked about lived experience. Because again, one of the problems I feel in modern customer experience is a reduction of experience to metrics and data. And when you reduce experience to quantifiable metrics, you lose the essence of the experience itself. You lose the ability to truly design.
Mm.
So we've spent a long time creating one or two qualitative tools to help take people back into what is the essence of a person, what is the essence of experience. And also, we work with the five universal human values of peace, truth, love, righteousness, and non-violence. And these are said to be universal human values because they articulate the highest expression of humanity. So, humanity at its best is peace, truth, love, righteousness, and non-violence. And over the last few years, we've developed qualitative design tools to help, especially design teams and leadership teams, really connect. And it's this word connect with the essence of their brand, the essence of the experience that they're offering. So in 2017, we wrote Customer Experiences with Soul, which is more of a philosophical book to explain the underlying concepts, the foundational concepts. But in designing customer experiences with soul, it's a step-by-step guide. Because what have we created? It's more than a tool or a framework. We've actually created an entire operating system that allows leadership teams to truly create genuine customer experiences and brands that customers genuinely love through the quality of relationships that are developed between the brand, the organization, and their customers. So it's what we're doing in our current book is really saying to people, this isn't just philosophy, this is how you put it into practice. And you start with strategy. So we've got the hard-nosed strategic bit because you can't just evangelize this, say, from inside a design team or inside marketing. We're completely transforming organizations and putting the soul back into business. Because what do people connect with? It's not so much that they want to buy a product or service. They want to experience something soulful that's meaningful to them in their lives. And this is where you really transform and grow. You grow systemically, you grow sustainably through this level of understanding of experience. What is experience? It's all about soul. It's all about lived experience, and it's all about meaningful connection with people, not just customers, but your ecosystem, the communities in which your business impacts, and of course, everyone working inside the organization. Because what's the point of offering a great customer experience when you're mistreating or people are struggling internally?
And when you connect with soul, the discussion moves away from price and towards value, I would imagine,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
now I might pay more, but I'm relating to you, and I think that's so important. Is that something you see in your work with clients and organizations?
Oh, I mean, I love the fact that you've asked this question because what is one of the key problems? I see a lot of CX professionals bemoan the fact that, oh, customer experience isn't valued in the organization. But what is one of the key problems organizations are facing? Very few people can easily and quickly articulate their value proposition, i.e., what value is it that their organization offers to people? They can talk about products and services and they can talk about that type of aspect, but to go into the value proposition, people really struggle because the leaders are not using that language. So when we talk about soul, we've actually created a process we call elevating the value proposition. And in this way, you elevate your way of articulating and developing the value proposition until it expresses soul, until you've really got to the true essence. Because what do we mean by soul? We're talking about essence. And when you elevate the value proposition, it completely therefore transforms how you then operationalize it and how you then take it and create more meaningful products and services. If you cannot articulate a value proposition and if it's not elevated, you'll never manage downstream to achieve the vision because the vision wasn't initially articulated at this level of essence and soul. So yeah, this is the key thing. Focus on your value proposition and make sure everyone knows how to really articulate it and what the actual value is that you're offering to people outside of the functionality.
And you've also brought brand into the discussion, which I
Yeah.
think is also a frustrating experience with CX professionals in that it seems like CX is separate from the brand, and it can't be. It has to be one and the same, at least from my experiences. And you're talking about that when you talk about brand and strategy.
Oh, crumbs. Yeah. I mean, this again, it's like it comes back to who really owns brand and who really owns customer experience.
Mhm.
Because what we're trying to show people is you've got to reach that point where people within an organization are actually connecting and can encounter the brand. And when that actually happens, people understand that, okay, branding, it's not a marketing exercise. The brand is the most precious element of your organization because it fully encapsulates and represents the essence of everything you stand for, everything you're doing, and all that you're offering. And so we work, again, it comes back to we do a lot of dialogue exercises around the customer life cycle to get everyone on the same page. And it's not even a problem of silos. It's a case of there are political battles where the battle lines are the silos. So you have multiple issues, not just, oh, the teams don't dialogue. There's people actively battling each other. And it's like, no, we have to work really hard. And this again is why our strategic process, it also includes a process of managing change. Because this again, there are so many reasons why CX initiatives fail. And if you really want to transform your experience, what are you talking about? You're actually talking about implementing a major program of change inside of your organization. So that has to be explicit within the strategic process. And that's what we
So
do
true.
as well. You have to start with the change before you start with the design of the experience to get everyone
Absolutely.
on board, and aligned.
And that's so
Yeah,
frequently forgotten, the change
yeah,
component and how massive
yeah,
it can be for organizations.
yeah,
Um, Before I let you go, Simon, one of the things that intrigued me in my research was the fact that you wrote a book, but you also gave a playbook to
yeah,
readers.
yeah.
And so So it's not just a theoretical book, it's a book that says, now here's how you go about this. So talk to us a little bit about that playbook and how that plays in with the book that you wrote.
Yeah, obviously we are talking about it's a paradigm shift in customer experience when you implement our methodology. And so I describe designing customer experiences with Soul as a complete operating system that impacts at every layer and every level of an organization. So we really wanted people to understand both the depth and breadth of what we're doing. So within our playbook, we're actually helping people understand the narrative, and we're actually giving away our customer centricity strategy framework because we believe so much in what we do. Within British Telecom, we published and shared our methodology with the world. We didn't just keep it inside. So I've been doing that kind of sharing because I so believe in the importance of customer experience, because it's so important that organizations and brands treat people well, with respect, and with soul. So with the playbook, we share a number of our core frameworks and tools, and we show people how they connect together systemically. And my hope for the playbook is that we shared it to help people who are struggling with CX start these more systemic dialogues and conversations within their organizations to really help other people in their organizations value them as CX professionals, so that they can so that other people in the organizations can start to see the importance and impact that customer experience has. So by sharing our playbook, it's shared as a presentation, to really help all our CX colleagues reach this level that, Maria and I have reached in terms of transforming organizations through customer experience. That's my hope for sharing it. So we're giving it away via LinkedIn.
I have to disclose in all transparency, when I saw that on LinkedIn, I thought, what's the catch?
Yeah,
right? And there's no catch.
There's no catch. We're giving it away. Yeah.
Listeners, I think you'll find it of tremendous value. This is not just some, fluff. This is real good content, applicable content. And so, listeners, I highly encourage you to take up Simon on his offer and get that presentation. I think it'll be very valuable for you. Simon, this has been great having a conversation with you. If our listeners want to learn more, I know you're on LinkedIn, but how's the best route, besides buying the book, by the way, listeners, you can get the book and the playbook, but how's the best way to get in contact with you?
Oh, it's absolutely through LinkedIn. I love connecting with people. I'm having such good conversations there. I have a Medium channel where I share an awful lot via Medium there as Harry Robinson. And of course, please do check out our book, Designing Customer Experiences with Soul. It's available on Amazon. I really hope it helps people on their CX journeys.
Fantastic. Simon, thank you very much for joining us today. And listeners, as always, stay tuned for more outstanding content on the All Things Considered CX podcast, Unhinged. Until next time, thank you.